How to get rich with rental properties? We're going to answer that question in this video. Okay, let's rock. Let's talk about rental properties and how you can get rich. So if you're watching this video, you've probably got friends or family members that have either made it and made a lot of money doing rental properties, or you're watching other people, complete strangers, talk about it and do it, and you're like, I want to get in on some of that action. I don't blame you. First thing I want you to understand, if you're going to get into the rental property business, is that you're signing up for a long-term proposition. And I love long-term deals when you're dealing with investing, because those are usually the ones that actually pan out and make sense. It's the get-rich-quick schemes and the scams that actually are the ones that generally, almost always, take your money. So I'm always excited when I hear about somebody say, well, if you do this for 20 or 30 years, you'll get rich or you'll make a lot of money. So listen up. That's what we're talking about right now. Rental properties and getting rich through them. So when you sign up, like we said a few seconds ago, we said you got to sign up long-term. I would recommend at least 20 years. And I don't think you're ever going to get out. I think once you get into the game and you start getting the money and the income as a result of it, I don't think you'll ever get out. It's kind of one of those lifer decisions, okay? Where you get into it for life. You start it and you just keep going, and then you pass everything down to your children or whoever. So the idea behind it is simple. You're going to buy a piece of property and you're going to rent it out. And the people that you're renting it out to are going to pay you enough money every single month if you've got a loan on it to pay for the loan and then some. Okay? Or if you do what some of my friends do, is they wait, they save up enough money, and they buy a relatively cheap house that's on like foreclosure or at an auction or that needs a lot of work, and then they fix it up a little bit, and then they put it on the market and start renting it out. And a lot of times they find houses for 30, 40, 50, 60,000. They bought some for 80,000, 90, 100,000. And so what they did, they just worked hard for a few years, saved up that money, and then bought it cash. And so that way they had no note. So once they fixed it up, they had some friends that did repairs. Some of my friends actually that do this are in the business of construction. So it's a lot more economical for them to do the work and to fix the house up. Then they get it fixed up to where it's livable, and then they just start renting it out. And then they start making that amount of money. So let's just do a little bit of math so you can understand how it is. So let's just, as an example, say that you find a house, 2-3 bedroom house. It may not be in the greatest neighborhood, but that's okay. Everybody on planet Earth needs a place to live. So you buy a house, and let's say you buy it for like $40,000, and you pay cash for it. Okay, so now you own it, and then you invest about $10,000 in fixing it up. So now you got $50,000 into it, and then you decide you're going to rent it out to a family for, let's say, $800 to $1,000 a month. So somewhere between $9,600 and $12,000 per year is the amount of rental income you're going to get. So if you do the math, we'll just call it $10,000. Well, you've got $50,000 invested total into this piece of property, this rental property, and you're going to earn about $1,000 a month. Just call it $10,000 a year. So you're going to make approximately 20+%, okay, return on your money. Now, we're assuming that you're not going to use any of the money to spend. We're not going to use any of the money to fix stuff up. You've already fixed it up, and it'll be a while. But let's just assume that you're going to be able to save $10,000 a year off of that rental property. Well, how many years does it take to get your $50,000 back? That's simple, 5 years, right? So if you don't touch it in 5 years, you'll have $50,000 that you can repeat this process all over again. So you can buy another $40,000 house, put $10,000 into it, have another $50,000 house, and then rent that one out again. So basically, if you follow this system, I know it's slow. Like I said, this is a get-rich-slow thing, okay? It's an investment that takes time because you're not going to be getting any money out of it for a while. That's the goal here. So in the later years, when you're not wanting to work as much and you're wanting to relax and enjoy life more, you've got all these rental properties that are just producing you income, right? So you want to do the work when you're young and driven and highly motivated versus as you get older, you might want to just chill and relax, okay? So let's just do the math here with this. So in 5 years, now you've got the money to buy a second one. So now theoretically, both houses are paid off and you're making on average, say about $2,000 per month. Now at some point, there's going to be an air conditioner that goes out or some electrical issue that you have to fix as a landlord. But just let's exclude that just for right now. So if you stopped right there at the 5-year mark, you've created $24,000 a year in income for almost doing nothing, right? I mean, hopefully you've got good tenants that don't bug you a lot. And so you're basically getting a check in the mail every single month for rent, and you're making $24,000 a year. But here's where it gets beautiful. Let's say you want to do that for another 5 years, right? So now you take all that money that you're earning from, so you started with one house, 5 years later, now you've got two houses. And now at the start of 5 years, you're generating $2,000 a month. That's just our example. Now, another 5 years later, these two houses have generated how much income? Almost roughly $100,000, right? So now you've got enough money to buy two more houses. So now you've got four. So you started with one house, and then 10 years later, you've got four houses. Now those four houses, with the exact same example, are now generating you almost $50,000 a year in income. Not bad. So now let's go another 5 years, right? So now these four houses are generating you $50,000, right? Per year. So in 5 years, that's about $250,000. If you basically haven't touched it, now you can buy five more. Now you've got how many, right? So you can get to 10 rentals at that rate in about 15 years, if you do the math. And when you get to 10 rentals, now you're making six figures. Now you're starting to get rich, because now you've built a base where you actually own all this property. So let's not forget, you've already become rich, right? These properties that you paid, you've got $50,000 a piece into, and on average, 10 properties is $500,000. They've probably appreciated quite a bit in 15 years, depending on the market. So I don't know what market you're in, but they could be worth $750,000. They could be worth $1 million. You might have made yourself a millionaire with this philosophy. So understand that, okay? You can make yourself a self-made millionaire simply by buying rental properties, the right ones, of course. You got to buy, you got to do your research and buy the right ones, fixing them up, renting them out, maintaining them. And in 15 years, depending on the market conditions, you could be a millionaire, a self-made millionaire. And what's even better is the rental properties. Not only do you have $1 million, say, of assets, I'm using that as an example, you have $1 million in assets, but they're also generating you income. So you're making, like, I'm just going to wing it, $100,000 a year off your rental property. To me, that's rich. But wait, there's more. We said, do this for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. Keep running the numbers. At the 20-year mark, if you took all that money and you reinvested it, how much are you making now in income, right? It's like double, or maybe 2.5, triple. It just depends on whatever. So you can, in 20 years, theoretically, starting with simply about $50,000 into one rental, if you can find the right deal, fix it up, rent it out, be patient, be disciplined, which you're going to need a lot of discipline to not take that money, because if you're spending that money you're making, you're basically preventing your ability to grow in your rental properties. Unless you've got money coming in from other places, you're like, well, I can spend this because that's going to be able to buy me my second and third rental. But assuming that you don't, you've got to be invested. You've got to just keep rolling the money so it snowballs and becomes a bigger snowball, in a sense, a bigger nest egg, right, to make. So at 20 years, if you had followed all of this, you've theoretically probably ballooned your net worth safely $1 million, most likely a couple million, like 2 million, maybe more. And you're probably making $200,000+ a year, $250,000 a year in income off of those rentals. I don't know about you, but for most people, that's considered rich. I mean, imagine what kind of a lifestyle you could live if you knew you had a couple $1 million in assets in real estate that's all paid off, and you make an income just off of those rental properties, $20,000 a month. You can live a pretty dang good life. So again, getting rich, everybody defines rich different. I like to use that example. 20 years, 25, 30 years, if you follow that game plan and you do it right, I mean, it's not as easy as it sounds, because you got to put in a lot of work, right? There's a lot of work involved. But if you follow that, theoretically, you can get there. And like I said, the 25 and 30 year mark, I mean, it's over. You're multi-millions. I mean, you're way more than 2 million. You're in the multiple millions, and the income now has gone through the roof. Maybe you're making $500,000 a year, or maybe $1 million a year. I mean, you're living an incredible lifestyle. And for most people's standards, that's rich. I consider that rich. I mean, you're living well. There's not much you can't do with that kind of income. Okay, everybody, I hope you found this video helpful. How to get rich with rental properties. There's a lot more to discuss. I've got some friends in real estate, so maybe at some point in time, we can interview them and they can shed a little bit of their experience and their insight, because I've got some self-made multimillionaires that are on my Rolodex that would love to share their knowledge. All right, until the next video, remember, in life, it's never easy for everybody. It gets tough. That's normal. And no matter how hard it gets, remember to push through, okay? Never give up, push hard, keep pushing, and be the hustler.